Why? I don't know how long this is going to be. I might break it up because it touches on why we adopted and the process itself. So I think I will go through why and the adoption process we went through. And then maybe part two will really touch on the actual adoption afterwards. So yeah, this will be the process before we actually get the baby. And then the part two probably will be how it felt and what happened next. So I am not going to mention where we adopted from because that's part of part two. But I will begin with why we adopted. Because we always wanted to. Why not? But I know there are many reasons. Okay, maybe there are two reasons really. The big one being you love children. So some people adopt because they can't have children, and some people adopt because they love children, and that's where we fall in. When I was 10 years old, I read about a baby who had been left in a basket on a doorstep, and there'd been a letter where the person was told, the resident of the house, was asked to take care of the child and love the child. And I thought, I would love to do that. I would love to give a mom peace. I pictured her, this lady who wrote the letter, going to check every now and then to see if her baby was really okay. And so I thought, okay, if I ever have a baby put on my doorstep, because that's how I thought it would happen. I had no clue about adoption. I didn't know anyone who was adopted. No one spoke about adoption. I figured, okay, if anyone ever does that, I will love that baby so much. I will be the best mom possible. And when that baby's mom comes to look, they will see that it's loved. The baby is loved. And I carried that on, that desire from age 10 onwards. 1999 or 2000, I can't remember which year, after I'd met my then boyfriend who became my husband, we were discussing our future family, and he said he doesn't want any children at all. And I said, well, then we'll have to break up because I want a large family. It's always been my dream to have a large family, and it just feels unnatural to have no children. It wouldn't work for me. Plus, from what we've studied in our studying, as when we were reading as Seventh-day Adventists, it said that people who don't have children tend to focus more inwardly, or they don't really look outside of themselves. It's about, okay, what can I do with my money to make me happy? Whereas when you're a parent, unfortunately, your money goes to, okay, not unfortunately, but if you're a selfish person, you don't want your money to go to someone else. But when you're a parent, you make sure your money goes to feeding your baby. It's all about someone else. And I wanted that discipline to not focus on, okay, which expensive holiday. It wasn't me. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a homebody. So being a mother suited my homebodiness, if you want to call it that. And so I knew I wanted to become a parent. I was very simple. I just wanted to be a parent, that's all. I didn't want fancy holidays. I didn't want fancy clothing. I just wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be a mom. Even the careers I'd chosen were based on motherhood and working around my children's, what's it called? Their schedules, yes. I'd wanted to become a nurse first, and then I knew that I was going to become a private midwife, and then I'd schedule my work around my children, well, except for the births, obviously. But I'd be working from home, and when I'm not consulting, I'm at home. And then my mother said no. She said nursing is not high class enough. Then I said, all right, I'll become a social worker. Then I'll become a private social worker. Again, she said no. So, I just knew I wanted to tailor my life around children. So if I was going to be working for myself, I would be working from home and tailor my life around children. But anyway, what's past is past. I'm 43 years old now. I've got many children. I'm not going to be able to go back to school and study nursing or social work, though I'd love to, especially the social work part. But that might come in part 2 of this video series on our adoptions. So he said, okay, fine. If that's the case, then let us adopt a baby. Then we'll have one child. Let's compromise. And I said, why? Why do you want to adopt? I've got reasons, but why do you want to adopt? And he said, well, he asked, but why should we make a child when there are already living children, living, breathing children who need families? Why can't we just parent one of those children? And I said, because I also want to experience, it's the experience of pregnancy that I also want. I want to feel the kicking. I want to see my belly growing bigger. When I used to see pregnant women from a young age, that form, that belly, it was beautiful to me. You know, they would complain, oh, my nose is big, it's spread, I'm fat. They looked beautiful to me. That belly made them the most beautiful people to me. I didn't care about their complaints about their look. So I've gone dark. So I wanted that too. Well, I didn't want to go dark or have a big nose, but I wanted to experience it. So I said, no, because I want to experience the pregnancy, that I want to have that experience. So we agreed, okay, fine, we'll have one adopted child, one biological child, and stop at 2. The reason was that he didn't think we could afford more than 2 children, knowing that we were going to have a single income because I was going to homeschool. I wasn't sure about that. You know, for me, it was a lack of faith to assume that you'd never afford more than 2, but so be it. So we had our children. Now, that's when things kind of fell apart, because that pregnancy didn't happen easily. I needed treatment. It failed. I was infertile, told I had unexplained infertility until we had a treatment that finally worked. And then, boom, just out of the blue, when we had now said, okay, fine, our next baby will be adopted, we conceived on day 9 of my cycle. Like, who ovulates on day 9 except me? And others, I'm sure. I know there are many, but it's not normal. So we had been using ovulation calculators since we had been trying to conceive our first child. And my cycle had gone back to normalish around, the first month after we had given birth. So we could count on it. So it was a shock. 3.5 months later, and here we are. And so we had our 2 children, one born in 2005, one born in 2006. And that put paid to the adoption dreams. My husband was very sure we will never afford more than 2 children. So that was that. And I mourned, I won't lie. I didn't have any friends who adopted, but there were many people having babies. And each pregnancy announcement would just depress me, because I just felt in my heart I was not done. 2 was not my maximum at all. But yeah. And then 2014 comes along. And we're sitting in church. We had studied a chapter on adoption. And my husband tells the church, Tandy has been wanting to adopt for a long time, and I stood in the way. But this chapter has convicted me that we really should be. It is what is right. So you better pray that we adopt. I can't express the joy the joy in my heart when he said that. And it had been so unexpected. He hadn't discussed anything about the study. He was just going to lead it. And just like that, things had changed. My wait was finally over. So I tried to do some research on adoption. I found lots of American blogs, and I saw that the best is open adoption, but very few South African blogs, and there was no open adoption. And so I eventually found an agency that I will call Anonymous. So it's a group of social workers who facilitate adoptions. That's what they do. And this part was not as romantic, okay? At this point, we thought, okay, orphans. My birth mother idea of a birth mother it had gone by the wayside. I thought now we'd find an orphan. But they explained that actually, for them especially, I can't speak for South Africa as a whole. Well, actually I can. I know there are way more abandoned children in the system than orphaned children. Orphaned children generally do get absorbed into the family. So We had to answer if we wanted an abandoned child who was left, on the grass in a flat somewhere, or a safely abandoned child who a mother had come and said, can you please take my baby? I can't take care of them. So we said any kind of abandonment is fine with us. We don't mind where the baby came from. We just want to mother a baby that doesn't have a baby, and father a baby that doesn't have a baby. My voice sounds off. I had my surgery 2 days ago, and I think we are from intubation. It doesn't sound good, but I'm trying. And so long story short, actually, let me not make it too short. So you have to send in 3 letters of recommendation. And this was nice because unlike for infertile couples or single people, the people could write and say, we know what they are like as parents. We've seen how they parent. They are good parents. It's better. So the social workers know for sure what kind of a parent you are. And we had to do a criminal record check. We had to also prove that we're not child molesters. You have to apply to the Department of Social Development to prove that you're not on the National Child Protection Register, which we weren't, obviously. But I guess I shouldn't say obviously. Hey, there are many people who adopt who are not good people. But anyway, so we had to go for health checks, medical checks. We had to do psychological checks. We had to answer all these weird questions about how depressed we are. If we are depressed, do we feel suicidal? How often do we feel suicidal? My husband told the psychologist afterwards that it left him feeling suicidal. It was just depressing questions. He found them depressing. And I think for me, one of the pivotal moments of my life as a mother happened then. As I said, I've always wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a wonderful mother. And the social worker or psychologist, whatever she was, she said afterwards, when she was not giving us feedback, she said that because she had to speak to us individually also, she said when she asked my husband what kind of a mother I am, he told her that I'm the kind of mother he wishes he had had when he was a child. That was deep. And for someone who has seen you, those other letters, they don't see me 24/7. I could be putting on a show at church or wherever they saw me, but he sees me at home. And so for him to be unequivocal and sure that I'm a good mother, it meant a lot to me. And I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. So we were done. We were ready to be processed. All our screening was over. And we had been told that we would get a phone call, or rather we've been told you'll be on a registry. It's called, the acronym is RACAP. I don't know if it's Register or Registry of Adoptable Children and Parents. So it's a list of the adoptable children, their ages, and the people who are ready to adopt, who've been screened and deemed suitable. Because unfortunately, not everyone will be deemed suitable. Maybe you've got weird, you give off weird psychiatric vibes, or I know one lady who was terminally ill, end-stage cancer, who wanted to adopt, and they said no. So it's not guaranteed that you will adopt just because you go and apply. So we were going to have our final meeting, and then we would await a phone call when they found a baby suitable for us. And I was wondering, will it be a month? Will it be 2 months, 4 months, 6 months? Some people waited 8 months, 9 months, a year. Some had been waiting for 14 months, waiting for that call to tell them we found a baby for you. There were some questions that for us were like weird. Do you mind the baby? What kind of texture should the baby have? What skin tone? But you see, this is part of actually why I'm doing these videos, because Black people, we tend not to adopt. One, because we are financially not doing well, but there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes about bloodlines, that it's all about blood. Blood comes first. Strangers don't figure. All your money must bleed back into your relatives, into your family. And the other reason that other non-Christians give is you can't adopt because the ancestors of your family your dead people, but the ancestors who are alive spirits, whatever they are, the ancestors will not welcome that child because they're not blood, so you can't adopt. And so they were talking about cases where the parents, black parents, want the child to match their skin tone as much as possible so that it's not obvious that the baby is adopted. Same with body size, must match as much as possible. Hair texture also must almost, must be the same. I didn't care. A baby is a baby. All babies deserve love, period, whether they look like us or not. So we didn't mind. And they told us a story of a couple where they had hidden the adoption and gone away for 3 months and pretended that they'd had a baby, and then the baby had complications and stayed in hospital because, you see, parents have 60 days, birth parents have 60 days to decide whether they are sure that they want to place their child for adoption or not. They can change their minds and say, no, actually, I've decided I want to keep this baby. So they couldn't just, when the baby was born, they couldn't take a newborn with them back to where they came from. So, and they needed the baby to look like them as much as possible. So the parents had to have the same skin tone. And we're saying, but what if the grandparent was totally different and then the genes came up in the child, Anyway, so no, we said, no, we don't have any issues. We don't mind what the child looks like. We don't mind what texture they have. We don't mind. And guys, this is real. I've got a friend, a white friend, who knows of a colored woman who returned a baby because their hair was too kinky, too knotted, too curly, too African, basically. The hair was too African, and she didn't want that baby. And she had actually, this adoptive mother had received this baby, and she gave the baby back. So they weren't playing around, but neither were we. We just wanted to love. So we didn't mind what the parents looked like. And we went to this last meeting thinking we're going to just, sign off whatever we're signing off, and then we'll wait for the phone call. Except they told us, we've got a baby ready for you. Actually, we've got 2 babies. Which one do you want? I hope no one ever has to do that again. How do you choose between 2 children? Like, how? That's like, for me, it was like saying, we're going to kill one of your children. Which one do you want to live? It was not fair to make us choose between 2 children. Just give us just give us a child. Not child shopping. We just wanted a child. But there is stigma as well. The stigma being abandoned babies are abandoned because there's something wrong with them. There's something off. And unfortunately, one baby did have something off, which was fine with us. We were going to pay for them to get fixed. But because of the stigma, we didn't want to be a poster child of C. This is why you shouldn't adopt, because then you'll have extra expenses, that kind of thing. We wanted basically to be a good advertisement for adoption. We didn't want to live out to prove the stigma. So we took the baby who didn't have any visible ailments, because unfortunately you'll never know what is going on in the brain. They're babies. So yeah, that's how we chose our girl. We chose her purely because we wanted her to have a better chance of being accepted by our families and by our community. Our social worker or the social psychologist asked us, so how does the family feel? How do your parents feel knowing they're going to have another grandchild? And we told them they don't know, because a lot of what we do, they don't like. Our veganism, they don't like. The way I dress, they don't like. The fact that we went to do mission work in Tanzania for 9 months, we almost stayed for a year, but we couldn't, they didn't like. So everything good that we deem good that we do, they don't like. The homeschooling, they don't like. So we haven't told them. We haven't told them that we're adopting because we want this to be a positive experience. Thankfully, I've been posting on an adoption group, and I was blessed. I was blessed abundantly because I had 2 children and I'd never had a baby shower. And so I told them, guys, we've been given a choice of a baby, and the baby's gonna come home in 14 days. We've got 2 weeks to get ready for our baby girl. Our baby girl is coming in 2 weeks. Oh my word. And they threw me a baby shower in 10 days. I don't know how, I don't know what, but I will never forget that. A bunch of adoptive mothers who I've never met in my life, foster mothers who I'd never met, they threw me, a baby shower for my baby girl so that she knows she's welcome, she's loved. And if they'd only known the future, if we'd known the future, I would have just taken the number of every single person who attended, because wow, did we need them. Did we need community. So we had our baby shower and we got our baby girl. I think I'll end there, hey? Let me end there for now. That was the why and the process itself, how you were screened, the health tests. They did an HIV test. They said it was, though even if you're positive, you still can adopt. And what else? Oh, the child we chose also. The irony. We wanted a child who was as healthy as possible. If they needed an operation, like cleft palate, we were fine with that. Something that could be fixed eventually was fine. But a permanent issue, we were worried about because of my back issue, which hadn't been diagnosed yet, but we didn't want me to be driving up and down often and leaving the children, because then who will homeschool them if I'm gone? Life doesn't work out the way you plan, but it's beautiful either way. Right, so here I am. We had decided on 2. I've ended this video with how we got 3 children out of the 2. And eventually I'll get to how we ended up with 6 children. But the important thing is, I want to leave you with this. If you're a South African mother or want to be mother, I will give you a suggestion. Please adopt through Vilna or Amore Malherbe. Vilna is the mother, Amore is the daughter. And we were going to adopt through them for our 3rd adoption. Because I know for sure that they are trustworthy. I know for sure that they treat their birth mothers with respect. I know this because the birth mothers themselves come online and post. They post their hearts. I mean, it's not nice. It's not easy placing your child and saying, take my child. And only birth mothers who had placed their children with Vilna Malherbe were posting, and that says a lot about transparency. It says a lot about how she made them feel in themselves. I'll stop there. But yes, that is why we adopted, and that is how we adopted. And then our 2nd child, I'll talk about the how. We wanted to adopt as soon as possible. We had wanted twins, but they were available through a different agency. And what happened again? They were older than what we'd have wanted. We wanted to bond as early as possible with the child. And another couple had also wanted twins. So we said, no, it's not fair. It's not fair to take the twins away from them, because we were the closer race, and government prefers children to be placed with people of the same race. But we said, we'll just adopt twice instead of adopting twins. Let's give them the baby. Plus, I think the babies were 8 months old, and we thought they've lost the bond of their birth mother, and then to take them away after 8 months of living with whoever they were living with, I'd rather not. Let me just take someone who's less bonded to their foster parent. And yeah, that's how we decided to do 2 adoptions. The second one, we had to wait 9 months after the first adoption. And because we'd adopted a girl the first time, we figured, okay, now let's get a son. And we had to do much of the screening all over again. Thankfully, not all. And yes, we had to pay. Adoption in South Africa is not free. I don't know where it is free. I think a friend in Jamaica said they don't pay in Jamaica. She's not an adoptive mom, but yeah. You have to pay a fee. The private social workers generally charge more than child welfare does, but it's more streamlined, it's quicker. and you always know where you are in the process. So yeah, we asked for a 50% discount, which we got, because honestly, it doesn't make sense to us. We are helping the government by taking children who would be in foster care. There should be no charge. I mean, we're going to pay to feed the children, to clothe them. It just sits wrong. But the social workers do need to eat. They do need to buy their own clothes too. So, it's understandable that there is a fee, but it just needs to be a fair fee. And that's debatable. But yes, that's how our 2 adoptions happened. We still used anonymous for adoption number 2, though we didn't trust them anymore. But we had already begun the process. And we thought they would blacklist us with all other adoption social workers. So we had no choice. And that will be part 2. Why we will never use anonymous ever again. Thank you for listening.